Yeah, I know my hair looks nuts. It's Jazdia. It's January 9th. We're on day 2 of 4 days in one, and in a 0134 correction creation is the best way to put it. And this is what happened with the weather. It's what's happening with the weather right this very second. I was up till about 4:30. And for all that are like me, that are spiritual beings, and we know that we've been breaking through these domes, and we've been breaking through these basically mass spells, getting out of what you'd call the matrix grids, and even connections to what I call galaxies. Because whenever we really start being able to tell people what the hell's been going on down here, because we haven't really been able to communicate it in its fullest, because there were so many pieces of it that we had walked over the past 4 or 5 years in order to correct it as a collective, that we really didn't understand exactly how it was all connected fully. And that's what's starting to come out. That's what's starting to come out with this grid breaking. So first of all, I am grateful that we didn't have as many tornadoes that could have possibly touched down. So I know that as far as your etheric squads and those of us who are really running this, because it isn't who you're pointing to, it isn't who is playing out this Masonic play of demons, because it's what it is at this point, no matter what power force was backing him. But it is what it is. And the more that the story goes on and you understand how the collective was always used in propaganda words and codes put out to the collective in order for them to take those energies, those names, in order to build their story, because it's how it was working. Right hand on the Bible, left hand up. It's how it was working. It is how it works. This is why they have attempted in every way to cut off our voice. This is why they have done everything that they can do to silence us, because when we start saying the same things over and over and over in this bubble, it does take a strong hold. That is how important your voice, and how important, even if you're in your room talking to yourself, and you're putting this frequency out, and you're laying your story, what it does is override the frequency of a masonry laid story. And see that this is what the world did not know about, but this is how it was being done. This is even why all this, they have chosen on purpose to keep this EP stuff hidden. They chose on purpose to put it out right now, because they wanted everybody talking about it, so that all of this would come out in order to attempt to manifest the reason it was all done. Now, I came on here because there's so much coming out with these grids breaking that's even hitting the media. So I know that a lot of you are getting extra information, extra downloads, connections, and a couple of things have already come up this morning with this grid breaking. Number one, I found I had glass in my front yard. Okay. I had glass in my front yard and thrown up on my driveway. And I had been asking my crew if they'd seen glass yet, because this was even linked to the AC hotel chains. This was linked to a system, a grid system that was overlaid on top of our original United States foundation. Because the original United States foundation, why we had certain tunnels, why there were certain caves, how they were linked all together into places like New Orleans, places like underneath New York City, and even New York City connections to underground connections into Europe. What I'll say right now, for the person who sent me a comment saying that none of my content makes any sense and I'm going to be blocked, anything that you say to me, anything that you type to me, instantly happens to you at this point. Number one. So don't do it. If you don't like what I'm saying, then just back the fuck up and leave it be. And go get a NeuroNet and sign up for your little weird ass army that's coming down here. We're done being ignored. We've walked this whole thing and we've saved everyone's asses, and have fought every industry, have had to take over energetically every social media platform that made a difference. Which is why there are certain ones that we haven't even touched, because it ain't even worth it for us to get the amount of high-powered beings that are awakened over here in order to know it only takes two to blow this Cocker Spaniel in every sense of the form at this point, because your 144,000 are here. So if you think that nothing's going on in the world, good. Adios. We'll see you in a million years. If you believe in any type of spirit, if you believe in any type of any type of spirit, if you have ever called on in a moment God or the angels or assistance, I don't care what entity you called on. I don't care if it was a lower form entity. All of them are involved in what's going on down here right now, because nobody knew what was happening. The degree. Realize it took all of us having to completely blow ourselves out in everything that we thought that we knew about life, and sacrificed lifetimes after lifetimes after lifetimes after lifetimes in order to be able to show up right now and get the world out of this. Those rabbis and what just went down in Brooklyn, let me tell you that is connected to the story. Now, the bathhouses and the ritual, because what they were trying to get to was the female ritual bathhouse. Well, in my world, 2021, and this was right after the Gabby Petito. It was all going down at once, and they had already put us down. The whole world. They had already had us sealed up. They had already sealed up the bubble. They had already sealed up the energetics. They had already taken over your leadership. Now, when I say they, I'm talking about entities from galactic space that none of you have any fucking recollection of. And you don't have any idea what you're dealing with. You're starting to see it now, because we're done messing with it for the whole world while you're throwing stones at us and trying to steal our lifetime, steal our channels, steal our domain, steal our connections. Most of you that were doing it for what you thought was for fame or for what you thought was for greed, because it's what it was, Most of you had no idea that this is what you were handing over the world to because you had gotten away with it for so long, and it's how you were able to be in power of some sort. Well, now you know, and you're about to find out more. There ain't gonna be no story where the two witnesses are getting danced on this time. I can promise you that. What happened in the end this round, in the new book, at the end, is we're dancing on you. And we're up here screaming, telling you what's coming. And it is what it is. Now, we did not create this. The human race created this. This is a human experiment. It always has been. It's a human experience. And whenever you're going through a physics flip, you have to learn. It's like attempting to write a book if you don't even know the alphabet. Everybody that's screaming that all these beings are controlling you, and everyone that's screaming and talking about till you're blue in your face about how you've been wronged by these entities, all want to come over to beings like me and to the true and tell us that we don't know what we're talking about whenever we're telling you how to defeat it. We're telling you how they did it. We don't get into the details of it. You don't have to. It's all a story that was made and sacrifices made in order to make it stick. And it's all the same story, no matter which dimension you're coming from or what they were trying to do. But it is run by spiritual energy because everything down here is run by human energy. Period. Dot. You cannot light a fire anywhere if you don't have a human to light it. You can't turn on crap if you don't have human energy to ignite it. This was the secret. Whenever you don't know how to plug yourself in order to create a current, or if you have turned yourself on and you've created a current and then everything's starting to come at you, which is what is happening right now to the world. People are losing their minds. Funny thing is, most of them are the ones that were all on us and trying to make us lose our minds. But it is a divine intervention, and the human race will not end. It's why we're here. So you can bet that for those like me, and there's a whole bunch of us, we're hidden in plain sight. We're shrouded by so much. If you find us, consider yourself lucky in every single way, even if we make you mad. I can tell you one of my main things right now is to piss a lot of people off. You know why? I'm trying to save your ass. You get mad at me? Good. Get mad. Good. Go check some facts. Good. Go do some research. How the hell do you think we figured this out? Because that was our first mission whenever we woke up down here. As a collective, we had to figure out what the hell was going on to save ourselves. After we did save ourselves, then we went back in to help the human race. Well, we ain't doing that no more. Ever. Ever. Ever again. Ever. Not ever. And it ain't me that made the call. It's spirit. It's God. If you're asking for support and you're asking for help right now and you're doing what you need to do, you're going to get help in every single direction. But you got to see it. The more that you ignore it, the less the help is going to come. We know. This is how we did it. This is why we lost so many along the way. Because it'll be shown to you, but then you think, oh no, that can't be it. That can't be it. Well, then your help is slowly getting cut off, because we only have so much energy to send, and we're only going to send it to the ones who are gonna listen. And you don't have to believe everything we say. You got to look at the root cause of it. Everything down here is built on root energetic masonry, from your body to the land to your corporations to whatever, especially right now more than ever, because we're walking through a weird ass movie right now that the collective manifested from all this crazy crap that they've been showing everybody. Is what the hell's going on? Everybody died. You were dead. Those bathhouses, 2021. Around me, whenever they sedated us and took us out and put the whole world down, when the tops of your pyramids and every energetic structure flipped, and whenever the tops of the energy, the highest beings that had the highest energy current, then all flipped and went down to the bottom. And I found myself in a group of 9. All of us women. All of us from different dimensions. All of us from different perceptions. We had finished the blood, as far as putting back together the blood at that point. And at that point, it was really the Shadow 9. Because you're 9, the Council of 9, basically that energetic and that connection ended up in hell. And there was no other 9 but the 9 that were down there, that all y'all were attached to whenever they flipped it. That group, this is when I got into that group. This is whenever y'all sprung me up into Speaker, and that's whenever we were able to hit the evolutionary target of energy that we needed to, and just one of us that has been holding and then writing and then being attacked on every single freaking level, with every single country, with every single billion-dollar device, with every single rocket, with every single ray, since right after. Now, there was a woman on there that I knew was a galactic pirate. She ended up trying to hold me hostage in Arizona. Literally, I had to fight myself out of there. Literally. There was another that was in Austin, Texas, that was mind warped to hell, and we ended up having to protect her. Weird clown showed up with her at this weird, crazy RV park that she was at. Man, it was nuts. I had to get to Houston. Houston had a bunch of ritualistic chambers that were on top of, right between Baytown. All of that had to be cleared. A baby had to be born there. With a new sequence. That is all around the time of what I'm talking about. As it got into October, which is what lined up with your eclipse that just happened, because since 2020, you can basically think of it as one big spiral that never stopped, and it's going to repeat itself every single time it goes around the track. Same time period. different every year, us moving a different layer on that track, but the same cosmic event, because what's going on down here is so massive. And whenever you're dealing with etherics and you're changing and you're rebuilding your heavens and you're rebuilding an etheric gates, because it was gone, it was completely wiped out. The whole human Akash had been completely wiped out. This is why all of us could not stop. Because we were here to rebuild some type of structure for your mind so that whenever you blew out, you'd have an ascension trail. It was either out or in whenever we got here. There was no, if you weren't in a mummy, and if you weren't the one, and if you weren't connected to a Sumerian god, then you and if you weren't connected into the earth and 72 freaking million years old, or connected into the family lines that were all bit up in laboratories and sold DNA and all that, then you weren't you. There was nothing for you to see. It had from the way everything flipped, everything was built up there, but then we ended up down there. Well, then they moved in up there, and then they made everything crash again. There wasn't nothing up there. Because of these tunnels and all this mess that they had been doing for so long down here, under the disguise of what they would call religion. The reason that they did it under what they call religion, because then they sacrificed whatever to whatever deity. And in the end days and in the end times, and if you are attached to the family lines and to the reason that that deity exists, guess what plate it shows up on? Yours. Every single one. So realize what they were doing, even in sacrificing a goat and sacrificing to Christ and sacrificing to Lucifer and sacrificing to whatever the F balls they were making up to sacrifice to. It was all ending up on the doorstep energetically to be cleared by your angels. This is why I kept going. This is why we had to change the bloodline. It never would have stopped. You would have just kept eating yourself, kept killing yourself, all to maintain a power and control system that is given freely to you. You just have to change a couple of things. That part. Now, everything I just said is associated to those ritualistic bath chambers. Because what that's connected into is Shambhala. What that's connected into is some ancient spiritual alchemy that was all laid here in order for us to be able to connect in end days and to be able to pull this off. And so in a wide open gate, and what they were doing was all types of disturbing crap down there. And guess what? Your divine feminine had to live through every bit of it. And we're done. You can believe us or not, but you ain't gonna topple us. You can do whatever you want, but you are not. Nobody down here is stopping this. In fact, we're the ones that have been screaming this whole time to put us into our positions so that we can help save your houses, so that we can help save your children, so that we can tell you what's going to be going on. But no, let's just silence everybody and let everybody kill each other and let everybody lose everything, because the human race is ignorant and they don't know, and they know that. So if you're yelling at one of us, realize you might as well just go sign up at a cell block somewhere and get used to freaking staring at some type of lattice work bars. Human race has not cleared your own karma for over 214,000 years, and now you have to do it. Whatever organization you've been signed up in, I don't care if it was a sorority and all you did was show up. Guess what? Whenever I activated and cleared, I was in Delta Zeta sorority. Do you know what was on my right heart? A Delta faucet. If you were in a business fraternity, sorority, if you were in a Greek system of any kind, you have governors, you have things in your body that are stopping you from ascending because you're working for a machine. All my healers, this is something we need to start tracking. We need to start asking anybody that you're doing healing work on. You need to start asking them what organizations they've been a part of, especially if they've been in Greek systems, because of the reason I just said. Because what we can do is put out massive healings for those particular sorority, fraternity lines, because there's going to be the same thing on everybody, because it was a massive system machine that had been set up in order to keep all of these illusions going at the top. It was 2021 and I just completed that. We were with the Shadow Nine. We were all helping each other at that point. We were trying to assist each other at that point. We only had each other at that point. And it was right after, it was October 7th, because this was always about October and the claiming of October, because your true queens and your true Sumerians and the true ones all, and the true ones that were even in the Roman days, the true ones that were even in the Greek days, were all sacrificed way back then to become your October. And then every single corporate launch, promo launch, Queen's Horse, all this crazy crap that they've been doing all ran out in the first 10 days of October, which were missing from your calendar. October, right after October 7th, because it was right after my birthday, 2021, and I had to make a play, because at that point, those of us that were ascended did the one thing that we didn't have, that the dark side was using, was sex. And all of us were kept from our unions. All of us had been purified. All of us were virgins. And we were having to even use our sexual energy to create the world that you're living in right now, which is why do not come at me. And do not come at my ascended. I'm going to keep saying it this whole time, because I'm putting out a warning. Consider this a warning. We're walking karma. To all the rest of y'all, I'm standing up for you. And this is going out. I command this go out through Mercury right now. I command this message hit everybody in their subliminal consciousness today. I was here at the house, and I had no intentions of packing up and leaving. Now, I was in 45 states throughout this for 4 years. I was the one driving this energy all across the United States as everything was uncoiling from underground. This is the part that and this is the part that the whatever you want to call what the F balls took, even the Antichrist energy, because it really is what we're dealing with. It's not human. They didn't realize that every time that they were sending us attacks up there, we were mirroring it and uncoiling it from down there. It's the first time that it had been done before. It's because this simulation blew. It's because everything blew up. It's the reason I got shock activated in 2017 in order to plant your earth. It's what your conscious collective has been doing for you this entire time, is making sure that you had a place to be. But recognize that there are pieces of this. It's why they shock activated us, in order to build a new realm and then to take us out so they could take it over and run you. Well, not this time. When I say the G-core came out of the planet, I need you to realize there is no core connection. What we're seeing still rip across the United States is only the beginning. Now, I'm not telling you to scare you. I'm telling you that we're coming to the point where you ain't going to be able to you're not going to be able to operate your cell phone unless you clean your energy. Those of us who have clean energy, Wi-Fi all day long. We ain't going to have no problem operating our phone without an AT&T satellite, because our energy is what's been making the damn thing work to begin with. There's 3 layers of tech, and I can promise you the other 2 layers ain't got nothing to do with a metal grid system. This is what they don't want you to know. Every single bit of what this technology is and the process of doing all of this is running through a divine feminine body structure that's attached to every single one of us down here, and it's free. I guarantee you, everybody starts losing their cell phone coverage, then we'll have a healing epidemic. A healing pandemic. Okay, bring it on. You lose your house, you lose this, you lose that. Yeah, it sucks. It's human. It's being human. The main reason that most of us angelics aren't sitting on the empire right now and all of y'all are waiting to see us rise is because we still have a little bit of work to do. And if we were all cush and had everything that we needed, then we wouldn't be doing this. You can trust that we wouldn't be helping the rest of the humanity right now that's come at us this whole time. We're so done with it. We've cried for 7 years for everybody and got beaten to hell and put in hell because nobody knows about us. All because nobody wants to listen, because you don't want to change. Well, you know how we changed? We lost everything. And then we got on our knees, and then we prayed, and then we asked for assistance, and we said something isn't right. Because if I'm doing good for everybody, then why is bad happening to me? Over 50% of the souls on this planet had the same charge. We were all saying the same thing. It's why we got woken up. And damn straight something wasn't right down here. We had to lose everything. When you're in a human body, and everything's flowing for you fine, you ain't gonna change nothing. It's just being human. You gotta have your back up against the wall. It's unfortunate. It is how it is down here. Especially coming out of a program that you didn't even realize existed. (2021) Mount Clemens, Michigan. which is basically about 20 minutes outside of Detroit. It's where one of our girls was. One that had been completely taken over by Zeta Reticuli and the Cabal, and ended up being the calf that we had to basically give her a whole organ transfer and transfusion. Mount Clemens, we now know, is the Cabal Lab. Ann Arbor, Michigan. Oh, shit. I wasn't prepared to go there. I didn't think I was going to have to. This particular one of us, birthday October 14th. This particular one of us also had to have a baby in her line that was born the day after the eclipse in order to finalize this DNA so that we could take hold. It's why a lot of us were in a weird little hiding, because we were birthing a new DNA down here in order to trump, not rump. And I command everything that we ever said with the word Trump come out of the rump right now. Mount Clemens. Now that October 14th is significant because it's what lined up the eclipse that moved from Missouri down here to Texas. Because these eclipses, and we just had one, we're going to have another one this year that's going to crisscross, and it's going to crisscross over San Antonio, Texas, but it's not how it was written. It was supposed to crisscross over Jefferson, Missouri. Should tell you something. We were on Marco Polo, which we called Coco Polo, which basically is what this and your Tiki-Talkie and your and even Telegram ended up basically forming and utilizing what we were building over there for 4 or 5 years as we were undoing this DNA. And it's even what the brand became, and it's even what your BIDEN, and sold a book over here for $100 called Marco Polo that had all the information in it for anybody to just buy it and do whatever the F to mess with us. This is what they thought about their sacred information. This is what they thought about their burial tombs. This is what they did. They stole all of the secret information that should have been only be made available to the most ancients in order to connect it all in a true spirit, and they handed it out for pay for play. That's what they did. This is why Hunter's in trouble. This is why China's involved. This is why all 13 countries are coming at us. We're the real deal. We prove triple crown. It blows our Cocker Spaniel to think that we are what we are too. But at this point, you better just be grateful that some of us had the backbone in order to stand up for you. I got 4 people on here. There's 4 people in the whole world that give a crap about this on TikTok. I got all these people joining, but then you don't want to know how to get yourself out of the matrix and etheric. Why don't you go listen to some card readers? I'm so freaking irritated right now. And I just got to let it out, because I'm speaking for all of us. In Mount Clemens, what happened is, because how we were able to even build this infrastructure is all of us attached all over the world in a grid system. It's how technology works. Every single one of us that are pinging up from wherever you are right now is creating a network right now and this energy is going and forming a bubble. and then you keep pressing, then that bubble will keep lifting and keep lifting. And it's how they were using tech. It's why you have IP addresses. This is how the G core and everything was being simulated down here in a 369 Tesla pattern. So we were using it for good, because everything that we can do and use that they used, we can use. It's how your TikToks are working. It's how your lives are working. I proved this yesterday with this, I think his name is Source's son. Source's son, and this is the first time I've mentioned another TikTokian. He does singing bowls. And yesterday, whenever we broke this grid, I was on there. And as I was on there, I was calling in for those singing bowls to attach to Venus. And I knew the alignment, and then Mercury, and then Mars, different things. And then boom, shakalaka, we blew the grid. Because this is how long we've been laying these energetic frequencies. Not to even, also, what is the reason during the pandemic? Do you know that the reason that the children were even allowed to stay in school and use Zoom was because your healing collective had cleared Zoom by doing healings from 2017, 2018, all of the full moon rituals, all the new moon rituals, anything that was done on Zoom held an energy current. And that energy current is what even allowed the Zoom and the schooling to keep going when everything shut down. That is how entrenched this new physics is with your body and your technology and your intention, because of the physics that we're in, coming out of a simulation at the same time that a true cosmic alignment is coming in. Thank y'all for being here. This woman that was one of us that helped us break out of the handler system in Mount Clemens right after October 7th, October 8th, I think it was around October 13th. There's that freaking date again, now that I'm thinking about it. She calls me and does a polo, because that's what we were doing. We were all showing each other what was going on around us, because everything that's playing out for the world right now was starting to play out for us then, and we were in a higher, and we could see it, and that's why we knew what to do. Well, she's driving downtown Mount Clemens, and she sees a bunch of TRUMP supporters walking around City Hall with full-on miners caps on, light and all. She sends a video to me, and I lost my shite. As soon as she sent that, although my physical body and my 3D self didn't fully understand what was going on at the time, that the energy of it sent me into a complete riot. And I had to throw a bunch of crystals in the bathtub. I had to swirl the water around. I had to do a crap ton of light language and Alpha Drac like language. And then I had to pack everything up that I needed, not knowing when I was going to be back to Texas, having no idea how long I was going to be gone. And I had to hightail it out of Texas that night under the cover of darkness. Had to leave and drive out of state. Mount Clemens in that area is called Bath Cities. It's what it was originally, the history and everything up north connected to bath cities, water, energy holding in water. I tell a lot of you, whenever you do your spiritual baths, you might want to put some milk in it right before you drain it. You might want to put some milk products in your toilet because they're catching that energy in the water, just like a mermaid that gets into the water and has an energetic frequency. The way that the waste products and the way that they were running this from the mob side, this is linked into California with that Republic Waste. That needs to be shut down immediately. They don't haul any trash. Republic Waste follows around the freaking other trash trucks and is laying energetic channels because they know what I know. Everything was about what you throw away and what you don't want to mess with when it's coming from a human body. So I tell a lot of you to put a little bit of milk products because when it goes down there, it'll spoil the batch. So keep that in mind. Use it whenever you think you need to. Now, Bass Cities and all of those connections that are up there at the Great Lakes that are connected to what is now prostate land, literally prostate land, and because realize what the human is doing and what the majority of humans are doing here, especially the ones that were activated or blown open in a ritual or signed up to take over, be a celebrity or signed up to do whatever. Those contracts that even employment contracts, I mean, it had gotten so deep, even insurance contracts. I mean, it was in everything. It was in everything that you had ever signed. There was hidden Masonic, but it, because realize whenever I use the word Masonic, what I'm also explaining is a group intention on even a word. This is how the word pizza became a bad word. This is how all these words became a bad word. Now, Masonry is what it is, but it's Ma, sons. It's Ma. It's the divine feminine. All the codes and everything with EP, everything with all of it, the cloning, the labs, all of it is a re-engineering of a birthing cosmic intention, whether or not you knew it or not. And most of these organizations didn't know. They had no idea. They were being told it was for this or this or this or this, because and they would believe it because those are the things that would come true. But at the very top, they wanted to change the DNA to keep you in disease, to keep you under control, to keep you in grid networks. The main thing that has been really blowing my mind about that trip, and I haven't, thank you, Stargazer. The main thing that's been blowing my mind about that trip was that I hadn't met this person yet, the woman. And she was very connected. She in Spica, she had 8 empty houses, and our story, I'm sure I'll start telling more in the future because she was in the house with me in Anaheim at the end. And like I said, her and I brought down the Las Vegas prison, even linked into rehabs and mental health organizations that emerged during all this that were non-profit but all paid for by the mafia, and had been basically taken over to reprogram and utilize the ones with the mental problems. They were utilizing them for spiritual stuff. It's bad. It's bad. We were involved because we were always building the way out. So since the brand and Cohu 32, as it continues to grow, is dealing with putting your brain back together. Putting your brain back together, that was awesome. Since it was dealing with putting your brain back together, then that's why we were having to go against who was trying to tear it apart. There's nothing down on earth that you can change unless you've walked through it. This is why most of your angelics and all of us have had some type of narcissistic, some type of abuse, some type of sexual abuse. We've lived through it all because we were the crews down here to change it. And you can't change anything, literally. You can't change anything that you weren't involved in, because your energy has to be tied to it. So that's a lot of things. I mean, I really want you to write that part down, because that's a key to be able to get through this as well. And give you an idea of what's next. As you're building it, then you're going to come against the polarized energy of it. And since we all had the highest pure intentions in order to affect the largest number as quick as possible, just in like you would call Christ and Christ consciousness, then what it creates is the same exact thing in a polarized way. And then it becomes a game, an energetic game, a spiritual game of who has the highest and deepest connections in order to be able to hold that foundation and that railroad system to connect either this side or this side. And what's happening right now is that this side is running a movie that they can't stop. It's already written. They can't even change it. Ours is running knowing what the hell they're all doing right now, because we've already changed it. When I left to go to basically Michigan and had to drive straight there, and I remember for the first time, because I had driven a different route, because I'd been in Memphis, Tennessee and stuff already in 2018. We had already been, I had to go back to Nashville. I had to go, now that was, Nashville was linked to Virgin Atlantic. The missing Branson, well, he's showing up now, right? Memphis had become basically an ice wall. I mean, it really did. Whenever I drove this route and I drove through Mississippi, which I'm bringing this up because this is connected to what just unleashed last night. When I drove through Arkansas, Mississippi right there, I was also on the line with one of us in this 9 group that had been in the government system for a really long time, and she was poised in Colorado at 10,000 elevation. And in a lot of ways, I knew that it kind of, she didn't even realize it, but she was running like a double agent. And I was driving through those areas, and for the first time we had connected into the Atlantean crystals, because your Arkansas, your Talking Woods, all of that is connected into your original native American DNA and everything that was coming from the Toltec into the Bow tribe that made the double simian, which ended up being your gin, basically. And then they got the recipe and just made a whole bunch of them and then put them on a bunch of tech teams. Literally. As we were driving that current, and especially through Jackson, when I came up through Memphis, we had hit rain, because just like I had the snow event, when you start breaking these grids and you're the one driving it in the highest frequency, what you're really doing is breaking the water gate, and then even the etheric layer that was above the water gate, which is your snow, but that's connected into cold fusion. That's connected into it. And really, when it snows a lot, you can basically think of it as Santa Claus let its sack go. When it snows a lot, it's stored money energy, because it's a higher etheric drop than the water. Okay? The snow is connected to a smaller circle too at the very top. A smaller circle that's running a circumference. Okay? When I drove through Memphis, it was pouring, and those of us who have driven this and knew we couldn't stop, because we're basically an energy cord and an energy, just like whenever you see a live wire. You know, we know that by this point I knew that I was driving it. So this is also why we couldn't stop. This is why we didn't stay in hotels. This is why we drove 24, 30 hours straight and trust that we had angelic and galactic help to be able to even pull it off. When I drove through Memphis, it was like I was driving on black ice, glass. The whole road, because it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, it was pouring down rain, and I was just praying, please, please, and I was going, Gaia, please hold it up, let me get through here and drop it after I get through here, let me get through here and drop it while I get through here, tires, please, stay on the road. I mean, this is even how we ended up proving who we were in a lot of ways, because nobody else would have been able to make it through that pass. Not to mention that this is I'm trying to think, have I found out that my motor was tied on with a zip tie yet? My motor in my car was on with a zip tie when Walmart blew the engine on purpose. The amount of alchemy that we had to hold and prove who we were by being able to even make it through it was proving who you were, because this is the extent that they were coming after us. Memphis was a glass dome. And Nashville was the power source. It was like Nashville was the heart of it. That's why. But in Nashville, and especially Music Row, underneath Music Row, where all of your producers and everything used to be, that all got taken over by corporations by 2021, because I was there, are all built on top of underground pyramids. Every single one of them. I was in one. It's all like a river structure in those underground caves and those underground spiritual centers that hold an energetic. And then in Nashville, they had the Parthenon. They have a full-on freaking replica of the Parthenon. Not only that, they have a gold statue in the basement of Athena. but this is even why the music industry and even why country music is there, because your country music is the one that was always supposed to be telling you the heart of it, and a heart connection to it, more so than any other type of genres. And this is why it became the heart, and how that all happened. Now, Memphis, though, has the biggest Masonic cemetery. I mean, like, that cemetery, oh my God. And this is where I found Fontaine, which is the street I grew up on. It has nothing to do with freaking the Clone movie. Fontaine with what's his name. The base root of it is Fontaine and Foxfire and Fountain, but it was all linked into Texas and College Station, Texas, and the German Nazi bullshit that had been going on down here, which is why Jamie Foxx, Foxfire, Fontaine, the movie, the cloning. The thing that's really bothering me, and maybe y'all can even give me some assistance on this and see what you see, because I could not go to her house directly. I had to hide for 2 days. And I had to go to Columbus, Ohio. I was in Columbus, Ohio, and I had to hide out with a guy called Matthew. Now, we've got Matthew in the Bible. We've got Matthew Perry. We've got, I mean, my God, I'm seeing the Matthews freaking everywhere. Now, the thing with this Matthew character is that he was one of 9 children, and they were African American, and it was almost like they gambled with a sphinx. In my world, I'd stayed there, and then basically I told him I would do his chart. I ended up doing his draconic chart, and his payment to me was a piece of gold that had Pax written on it. Well, this was the Christ Pax. This is the Crux, Pax. And this was like this hidden organization that pretended to be something that it wasn't. But that what he did was pay me with that little piece of gold. Now, this is significant because I carried that gold around with me until even after we went raw. And when I went to go cash it in, when we got kicked out of the Anaheim Spirit Cooking House because they couldn't handle it anymore, and we had basically gone to Pismo and put the ocean on our back, freaking went into the command center of the ocean, got a whole bunch of freaking energetic vampires out of drawers that weren't supposed to be in there, stayed at the Time Traveler Hotel, which they'll tell you that it's a Time Traveler Hotel, that it had been taken over by a bunch of covens. At this point, linked into Hollywood. I'd had to stay there a couple of times in Pismo, California, where this wave came in. And this hotel I found at 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, I drove there unconsciously and found this hotel. And then ended up having to go back there 3 or 4 different times. And every time I went, especially one of the times right after my driver's license, my ID, my son's birth certificate, who was then taken from me, my birth certificate, my passport were all stolen. And there was a video that I did on YouTube right then, and that was all done in Pismo with the CIA watching outside of my window, with an entity messaging me, asking me who I just talked to at the beach, because I went down and met somebody and talked to somebody on the beach. And then I get back into my room, and then I'm getting messages of, why are you talking to somebody at the beach? This is the extent that I was being tracked and followed. And this is the extent a lot of you were. I had to stay there too. When I did his chart, okay, and when I did his draconic chart, it was like, this is Matthew, okay. So realize that anybody named Matthew pretty much was number one. The reason that I knew that he had 9 children in his family, which later on, about 4 months later, my crew helped stop a fire from taking out 9 children at a house. The house was on fire. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and we saw the video on YouTube, and holy crap, it looked like one of us, the Shadow 9 of us, banging on the door because they drove past at 3 o'clock in the morning and were banging on the door to tell him there was a fire in the house, and she woke him up and got him out. But the person that knocked on the door looked exactly like my Detroit 9, exactly like her. We had been up all night. We knew that we stopped those 9 from being killed. Now the thing is, this leads into even Matthew McConaughey. And this even leads into this black-white thing, because this is whenever I started realizing that it took 9 generations of an African-American family to make a white person. You want me to say it again? It took 9 generations of African American. This is why I tell all of y'all, my natural self is the blackest one down here. It took 900 years in order to basically clear a family line of melanin to make a white person, especially an AB negative. But realize that those of us who were made from it were all from sacrifice, and also we have the same power that you do without your melanin. It's just a different current. This is why you can't judge anybody by their color right now. It has nothing to do with skin color. Not at all. Not at all. In fact, I've seen it, and I've had to express the healing to African American people that I've seen are starting to get white splotches on your legs and your feet, especially because your soul comes in through your feet, and so you need to allow that energy to flush through you and know that that's what it is, because that's what it is. You were used in a batch, basically. Not to mention, there's some of us that I've seen them change, like from a white person to a black person, like a really light person to a white person, a really light black person to a white person. Their hair turned blonde, freaking everything. When I did his draconic chart, the first thing that I did whenever I looked at it was like, what fucking galactic portal did you come from? I just saw Black Panther. I just saw Black Panther, that whole movie, like Wakanda, like a portal, like from what I was seeing on his draconic, how long he's been down here, it was like Jesus Lord. Like a lot of it's from our draconic to our natal. You might move 2 houses. Your draconic is your energy source, and so most of us, even me, it only moves like 2 houses from my draconic. His was on the opposite side of the wheel, so it's like, what the fuck? We'll realize that this is what we had to heal and overpower and correct in order to take control of these tunnel systems, and we had to because in the end it ended up taking over the stargates. But this is why, and what they were setting up to use this for. This is why I had to go to Ohio first and hide for 2 days before I could even enter Detroit. whenever we did enter Detroit, not to mention this, one of us was staying in a murder house. Someone had been murdered in there just right before she moved in. It's why the apartment opened up. And then somebody tried to break into her window and get in. But we knew that it was the entity that was following me that tried to get to her. This is the extent that we've had to protect ourselves and even hide in death, and a lot of us, in order to cover up our frequency, because of also what games they were playing and what they were feeding into our energy by doing all this crazy ass stuff and then sacrificing it into somebody's name. Whenever you don't know who you are, you're getting it. Even if you don't know if you don't know who you are, then you don't know that you can clean it. Then it just stacks on you. Well, we had already built up the system. It had already been rebirthed all the way up to Spica, right? So we had a higher sight, and as everything was being done to us, it was basically emerging a new DNA sequence and opening up in us to be able to see it, to fight it, and then to rebirth a body that wouldn't be affected by it. That part. This has all been about mining. It's all been about coring, whether it's SpaceX or the mining hats or the rabbis pulling out those cave systems. It's the same thing as those Zoom meetings that all then allowed for school to happen. Underneath those caves is linked into Shambhala, which is linked into Egypt. And when you start understanding how it all really works in a 3-layered simulation, then it makes more sense as to why it was being done underground to begin with, from a natural perspective for end of days. But when everybody knows your routes, and whenever you've got leadership and you've got religions down here that are keeping up, wearing their little hats, wearing their little black and white, reading the same freaking words over and over and over and over again in a phonetic tone, what it ends up building is a glass bubble. Now, to make matters a little more complicated with this, in 2020, whenever I was in Queens Valley, Arizona, breaking this out of the Mormon stuff on the Queens Pyramid, which now they call Gold Mountain, since I left, with a child in the house named Alistair and Oliver. All when RUMP is trying to get elected. And all that mess is going on. Where a palm tree caught fire. Where I had to drag basically across, put Oliver in the water like Moses in a basket. A great owl appeared with like a 30-foot wingspan. It was nuts. Not 30 foot, but it's like, I mean, that wingspan was at least 2 feet. Because we were always on top of where the sacrifices and stuff were being done, because we were following the current from underneath, from true source. And then as we would follow the current underneath in the energy structure, then that's when the setup would be. So then it would throw us into having to rewalk it and all of the DNA there in order to rewalk it to undo the spell, because we're curse breakers. That part. I was in the house with the children. We were healing everybody, and we had just gotten there. Everything was going off the way it should in Queens Valley, and then they killed a man in a cement truck. Now, I didn't know that that's what it was from. The whole house and I've never felt it this intense before, and I pray I never feel it again. But it was a death energy that came across the whole house. It affected everybody that night. Everybody all woke up a little bit different. And I was freaking out. And so I knew I just had to get out of the house. And whenever I got on the other side of the rails off the pyramid and got away from the house and the energy, that's when I saw the cement truck on fire and the death spell that they did. Now, the reason I'm bringing that up is because a lot of you, and because I know another member of my crew has had an etheric dream in the past because we were getting through cement of some sort. And I'm bringing that up because that's what they were wanting to do at this Brooklyn thing when they found the cave. They just wanted to pour cement in it. But realize that the same thing I've seen in Florida with a portal hole that kept opening up in someone's yard, and just a hole would just open up in someone's yard and they would come and pour cement in it. So realize that is what the feminine is. We alchemize through it all. And if it's an opening that's opening up in order to connect and to bring down a matrix grid system, and you just think it's your yard, no. But that cement spell is what changed my course, and then ended up me having to get out of Arizona and go back to Los Angeles. Now, mind you that I had left Dallas, Texas to get to Austin, Texas for a paid for meeting, $3,000, which is significant because see, these 3,000, 2,000, these numbers you're going to find in especially EP transactions. And whenever you go looking through the weird financial transactions of this stuff and these Venmo payments that people were getting, and that this is connected into the brand, and this is connected into China even, and because what they were having to do was run the same transaction again, but they were adding zeros basically. But so anything that's like a 300,000 transaction, which is the exact amount of money that they stole out of my company account whenever they stole my company in 2013. And then this $3,000 transaction. So I had left with another one of the crew just to go to Austin for 2 days. They had lied to my son about a birthday party there. So on that day, I was driving there. My ex-husband was driving my son there. And then I find out months later that there wasn't even a birthday party. We were all lured to Austin, Texas in the summer of 2020. I left for 2 days, and then I couldn't come home for 44 days. And what I had to do from there was then go walk and reclaim the Alamo. And then after the Alamo is where I ended up on Queens Valley Pyramid in Arizona. Then LA. Then Sturgis and Black Mountain. And on the way to Sturgis and Black Mountain, after I had just got out of an Airbnb where I was literally staying in a semi-truck, this was at the same time that Lebanon had a massive explosion. They found children in trucks, metal containers. Well, that's where I was. I was at Old McDonald's farm in a semi-truck on a bee farm. That is where I figured out, and the rump song came in, so I knew it was a part of it. And then I had to drive to Sturgis and basically deal with the Hells Angels in Sturgis and take over the motorcycle routes that were on top of the mountain. Thing is, on the way there, everything blew up in my stomach. This is how strong these energetics were laid. This is what cleaning land is. And if you aren't in the DNA that's attached to the land, you're about to find out what it's like to clean the Akashic library of the land. For the past 2 years, it is what that's what we've all been dealing with. We weren't dealing with DNA anymore. We were dealing with DNA on land. We were dealing with the curses on land. We were dealing with the burials. We were dealing with the intertwining of energetics and satellites and technology, everything gridded to land. When I finally got up north, I realized what the Mason-Dixon line was all about, because this is what the Confederate War was fought about, what I'm telling you right now. You know that I was in the Hardin line, John Wesley Hardin. Go look him up. I went, and it's the base root of every single one of your super soldiers. Har. If they have Har in their name, Har, they're in the line, especially last name. Now, this is manifestation from the KKK sacrifices all the way through. It basically ended up being the cherry on the top of all the DNA stuff that was being done. I came from a Hardin line. My son came from a Harkey line, and that is why he was taken from me in order for us not to stop this. So, since they did that, what we had to do was basically go around it and rebirth all of the lines that were attached to all of us, and how it was made the entire time, because I couldn't heal him directly, and this is going to be the result of many of the DNA lines deleting themselves. No weapon form shall prosper. I'm just letting everybody know that if your children were taken from you during all of this for any retarded reason that don't and the child hasn't been able to be around you, that's what they didn't want your energy frequency around the child so that they could program the child. But I want everybody to know that the children were all healed, even because them doing that is what basically caused us to have to go around and undo every single piece, every single curse from the entire making of the super soldier line, all the way down from its origin. And so all of those DNA lines that were used were basically scrapped and birthed new. And this is your Christ. I mean, this is why it doesn't matter who you were. It doesn't matter what DNA you had. It doesn't matter what gifts. I got a violation. It doesn't matter what, of course, because I'm on here telling you about this. And you can't use my technology. If you keep violating all of this, then I command the internet to shut down. This is insane. I got somebody coming over and anybody can send a little violation because you don't like what I'm telling you. You're messing with the wrong one. I can promise you that. You want to test me? You want to test me the same way that the government's been testing us this whole time? You want to test me? Okay, test me. Do it! You got it all wrong if you think divine feminine is all just about love and light. No, we will protect ours, and we're protecting you. So you can send a violation warning all you want because you don't like what I'm saying. But at the end of the day, you're going in the soup. And if you don't know how to rebuild yourself, you're going down in a planetary system. And somebody will see you in a million years. And it ain't going to be one of us. It'll be the retards that are down there with you right now. And guess what you're going to have to do? Everything that I just told you. In a million years, including down to every single funnel, every single alphabet, every single physics that I drew. It's going to be the only way that you're going to be able to get yourself out now, because this was all done to your holy templates. And then you want to violate me because you want to pray in a book. You want to get in a circle and you want to hold hands. And then you want to ask for God, Jesus, the angel, Allah, Buddha, whatever the fuck, Shiva, to come save your ass whenever I'm telling you it's all in one, baby. Man, this energy, holy crap. I'm so done with this. I command all spiritual currents that exist on the underground be cut right now in its entirety, and I command for the rest of the world to terraform through it. I'm out of here. Love y'all.